If you're looking to lower your scores next year, then there's one area of the game that you need to improve. It's a quick fix and it could certainly help you lower your scores, lower your handicap and enjoy your golf that little bit more. So guys, we are talking about your short game today. So we need to think about how close should we actually be hitting it to the flag. So here, nice and easy, I've got a 25-yard shot, which a lot of you will be like, behind the camera you'll be thinking, or behind the screen you're thinking, well, I should get this inside 5 feet. Okay, so yes, there's going to be different chips on the green. You might be coming from the rough, you might be coming from the fairway, but on average, a tour player is hitting it from this distance to around about, not in, 7 feet. So 7 feet is a tour average of a player on the PGA Tour. So if you're sat there thinking, well, I'm a 13 handicapper, I'm a 20 handicapper, I'm a 30 handicapper, then you need to think about, right, let me just get this on the green and have a chance, because how many times I see people hit this shot, which is the dreaded shot in golf and nobody wants to hit. Oh. We've shanked it, maybe it's just got on there, but you now might be 33 feet away. And the reason why I say 33 feet is because that is outside of the tour average for a 2-putt. So from there, you're more likely to 3-putt. So from there straight away, we've made it tough for you to obviously lower your scores because we're adding shots on that we don't need to add on. So think about it here. And what do we see that people do wrong from this distance, why they hit that shot there? Is because of setup. So how many times I see people set up from here, 25 yards away, stance is shoulder width apart, they've stood full distance away from it, and if you was looking at me from a long distance away and you couldn't see the flag, you would think, well, he could be hitting that 100 yards, he could be hitting it 50 yards, I don't know how far he's hitting it. And from this position, a lot of the times we see the club work inside, and from here we've got a lot of work to do to get that back to square, and then we often see that people are trying to help the ball up, so they'll start to lean back, and that's again where we get that missed strike and we don't get any kind of consistency. So what I want to see you do from this distance, and even when we go back shortly, is get closer to the golf ball. So around about a foot away from the golf ball. I'm going to get taller in the chest, but also a club width apart with my feet. So nice and easy there. I can't now move off that golf ball because I'll lose my balance. So I have a lot more stability on how I can control that club. And now I'm taller. From here, we can start to work that club a lot more neutral on the way back. And you can see from here, I've not got as much work to do to square that club face up down into the golf ball. So if we get into this position here, it's an extended putting motion, and you can see there I can get that landed on my target and hopefully running down just inside that zone. So you can see that I've made it a little bit easier. But now let's go back to around about 50 yards. So if I change this now back to, let's go 60 yards, we're now thinking from here again. This is probably a distance that nobody really likes. It's that awkward shot in between clubs, but I know a lot of you will be screaming, no, I've got the shot. I hit my 60 degree. I get my 60 degree out and I send that as high as possible and get that landing perfect. But how many times do you see this shot right there? You get there, 60 yards, it's a perfect 60 shot. Oh, I've caught that a little bit thin. That did well because it landed into an upslope, but that goes, yeah, a Brett Cooper on screen now, and that goes rocketing through the back of the green, and that's not what we want to see because, again, we've made a bigger motion, so from a bigger motion there's more potential to go wrong. So that was my 56 degree. All I'm going to do from here is I'm going to drop down a club, I'm going to grab my 52, and I'm going to play a similar shot to what I did with that first one from 25 yards. But again, from here we are now looking tour average, just under 15 feet. So don't start beating yourself up if you're putting it to 20 feet, 25 feet. For you, I would say if we can work on getting it inside 30 feet, you've got a good chance of 2-putting. That's going to save you a shot and lower your scores. But right here, I'm going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to get a foot away from the golf ball, so I'm a little bit closer right there. And then from here, I'm going to go a little bit wider than a club width apart because I'm now going to make a slightly bigger swing. But 52 degree from here is going to be a half swing. But you can see there, again, A little bit long there, so that's carried 68, gone 75. So certainly an area of the game that I can work on there. You can see I can make even a smaller motion and control that. So again, get my setup right, good. And you can do this on the range, pick targets on the range. Can I improve on that? So that's better, landing at 50 and running out. And you can see there, that's a good shot. That's going to be well inside tour average, but that's not going to happen every single time. We just want your average that we can start to control these numbers, but think about your expectations. For you, set yourself that goal inside 30 feet, because when we go back to the next distance, it's certainly a little bit different. Is that there? A little bit low, but that's inside 30 feet. Up to 53 yards for 60, so inside that target range. But let's change now to just over 100 yards. So if we go to 110 yards now, and I go here, I'm going to change club, and I'm going to go actually to my pitching wedge. So from this distance, a pitching wedge, a scratch golfer does only hit the green 50% of the time. So you might be behind there going, well, if I've got my pitching wedge in my hand, I want to hit the green every single time. But if a scratch golfer is only hitting it 50% of the time, again, you need to think about how you can make it easier to hit that. A lot of the times I see people come up short. So on screen, you'll see mid-handicap Dave's approach shots. 67% of the time, he is short of the green. He's very rarely long.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is ridiculous how much he is short. He's not really left and right, but it's always the club selection. So from here, how many times I see people, well, 110 yards, well, if I absolutely wallop my 50 or 52, that's going to get there. And a lot of times we don't get the strike because we're trying to hit it a little bit harder. That only goes 80 yards, and then we're left with another chip shot that could be in a bunker, or it could even have not got over a hazard. So I've gone to my pitching wedge, and my pitching wedge can go around about 135 yards, but I'm going to make, again, a smaller motion, because if I can get my stance smaller and I can control the speed, I can control the flight, and then hopefully hit more greens. If we hit more greens even, we're going to be able to lower that score. So again here, I've got a little bit further away than a foot away from the golf ball, because obviously we're now trying to hit 110 yards. And I'm also a little bit further away from the ball, still with the club obviously. But the same principle here is I'm trying to control that. Now with the feet, I'm going to go the same, a club and a half width wide, because then again we're controlling that speed. I can't start to move off and sway off the golf ball. And then I'm trying to control my speed and into that finish. And you can see there, I can control the start line better. And there, I would say that's gone to around about 15 feet. Tour average from here is 20 feet. So the best player on tour is around about 17 feet, which was Rory McIlroy last year. But you need to think 20 feet on average is how close a tour player is hitting it. So again, just hitting the green from here, and always work on that 30 feet. Because if we're inside that, you should, again, depending on your putting, we should be able to two putt from there, and we should start to lower your scores. So make sure you get these things right. And it's one thing that myself and James have been working on for the next 100 series. And if you want to watch that, guys, head over to James Robinson's channel to see the scramble. But that is how you can improve your pitching, and you can lower your scores this year and get good at golf.